What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got a favorites video for you. So today I'm finally sharing the highly anticipated favorite wedding nail polishes. And trust me, we've got a lot to go over today. I think I have 40 favorites. I was gonna narrow it down, but then I also figured I may as well give you a lot of options to choose from. So today we're going over 40 nail polishes that I think are just perfect wedding vibes. And I think that these are polishes that you can wear as the person whose wedding it is, or you can also wear them as a guest, or if you're in the wedding party. I feel like they're just great colors for that. Now, obviously, you can wear literally any color you want on your wedding day, so please don't think of this as a comprehensive list. I just feel like I mention in so many reviews that, oh, this polish would be such a perfect wedding color, so I figured I would finally compile them into one video because a lot of you have requested this. Now, all of these favorites are going to be focusing more on polishes that are white or champagne or gold, silver, even a few blues, but we're not really focusing too much on nude shades. If you are looking for a good nude shade, I do actually have a favorites video on nude polishes for every skin tone, so I do recommend checking that out. I'll link it up in the cards, but I feel like these polishes are more going to be like wedding dress kind of colors, so that sort of vibe is what we're looking for today. Just a quick note before we get started, some of these polishes are not available anymore for purchase, but I figured I would just share them because you may have them in your collection and you might have forgotten about them, or you might be able to get them off of a reseller or swap with your friends. So I still really wanted to include these just because I think that they're polishes that deserve a mention when I talk about wedding nail polishes. But I will make an effort to link everything down in the description. If I can find it online, I will link it for you. But without further ado, we've got a lot to go over, so I may as well just get started with my top 40 wedding nail polishes. So roll the footage. So we are going to start with the lighter champagne pinky kind of colors, which is actually most of them. But I wanted to start off with this shade Orly Sea Spray. This is actually pretty new. It just came out spring 2024, but as soon as I saw this, I knew it was just the perfect wedding nail polish. It's this gorgeous full coverage white, and within it we have this iridescent shimmer that shifts from a coppery color into gold, but I feel like it mostly looks gold, and this really is just such a stunning shade for any time of year. It feels like a perfect palette cleanser, but like I said, as soon as I saw it, I just felt like this was such a gorgeous wedding shade. I love that it's a white, but it's actually full coverage, which I believe that's the only full coverage white that I'm going to be talking about today. But yeah, I think it's a really special one. Next up is OPI From Dusk Till Dawn, and this one's actually kind of like a buff beige base color. It has a little bit of a pinky tone to it, and it also has this sort of jelly crelly-like feel, so it does feel like it has a little bit of sheerness. I think you can see a touch of my visible nail line, but it's very faded and softened. But what's special about this one is that it actually has little sheer iridescent flakes running throughout, and they kind of have like this shift that's like a purpley blue pink kind of color, but they mostly look blue. And what I think is really special about this one is that it kind of has that hint of something blue, but it's also just a very elegant neutral kind of manicure. So we do have a whole section of blues to talk about today, but I just think this is like a very fun, subtle version of that. And then we have the shade ILNP Afterlight. Now, this one I would say is a sort of nude shade, but it's not just a nude because there is a little golden flake running throughout. It's this really light, again, buff beige kind of color, and it is actually full coverage, so I do cover up my visible nail line fully. Now, to be totally honest, I am a silver jewelry person, so I probably wouldn't wear this for a wedding look just because I know it wouldn't match my jewelry. But if you are a gold jewelry person, I do think that this would actually be a really beautiful complement to a wedding look with gold jewelry. So I think this would be like especially beautiful if you have like an off-white dress, something like that. Next up, we have another ILNP. This one is called Daybreak, and you will see a lot of ILNPs in this video just because I think they do these really delicate types of polishes, and that is definitely something that I always think of when I think of wedding manicures. But this is another neutral, nude adjacent kind of of polish, I would say. It's a very cool toned buff beige base color, and it actually has a little bit more of a jelly formula to it, and within that jelly you can actually see these iridescent flakies that kind of look gold into orange and even maybe a little hint of like greenish blue in there. And I just think this gives such a beautiful opalescent vibe, and really depending on your style of wedding, I feel like this could really work for that sort of natural boho chic kind of vibe. Now we're moving on to a polish. I'm not sure if this one is available anymore. This is Cadillacquer Breath of Fresh Air, and this one is just beyond stunning. It's an indie polish, so it has a very unique kind of style to it. It's actually this sheer base that has iridescent shimmer in it that looks head on like this coppery pinky color that shifts into orange and then into yellow. But then within that, we also have a lot of white hex glitters. So we've got a few different sizes in there, and they just scatter randomly on the nail. And I think it's just a really fun take on this type of color. It feels like it's a mix of something very elegant and neutral, but having that almost splatter of glitter in there just makes it a little funky and fun. So I really like that. And then we have the shade OPI Gemini and I, and as soon as I saw this one, I knew it was just a perfect wedding type of polish. This to me is like the peak wedding color, just having this like sort of champagne-y silvery white kind of shade, and it's just so shimmery and beautiful. You'll also see a lot of OPIs in this video. I think that they're another brand that just does this sort of elegant soft sheer color very well, especially these very highly sparkly ones. This one has a very fine shimmer to it, so it doesn't really have that sparkle as much as it has just like a subtle shine, but I still think it's very bright and fun. Next up, we have yet another ILNP. This one is Sandbar. This is actually a magnetic polish. I do have a couple of those in this video because I think that they can add a really extra special touch. This one is sort of a medium light brown jelly base, and then we've got this white magnetic shimmer running throughout, and I especially think that this one looks really beautiful and wedding inspired when you wear it in that aura or velvet kind of style, because it really does look like you have very velvety nails. Now, I am personally of the belief that every skin tone should be able to wear every nail polish color. I don't think that you have to find a nude or neutral that matches your skin tone, but I do think that this would look especially stunning on deeper skin tones, especially with that just like white shimmer coming through and just looking so vibrant on the nails. I would love to see that. Next up, we have OPI Salty Sweet Nothings. I'm starting to notice a pattern here, which is that when I have a silvery shimmer that is so light it almost looks white as a shimmer, that to me for some reason just screams wedding color, and I think you can see that in this one as well. So this one's actually this almost like orangey undertoned light brown, and within it we've got this gorgeous fleck that has that sort of white sheen to it. So again, it's kind of like this mix of a very neutral base color with this so vibrant, almost like blinding, shimmery, flaky kind of vibe. And I just think that that's such a fun combination. So I do love my sparkles, and I especially love these sort of white sparkles. And I think this is just a really beautiful, neutral wedding color with that extra sparkle. Next up, we have one from China Glaze. This is called Instant Sparks. And this one is, again, that sort of light brown, sort of orangey undertoned base color, and that base color is actually a shimmer, so you can kind of see a little bit of that pearliness to it. But what's especially exciting about this one is that it's actually packed with silver hollow teeny tiny flakies, so when the light hits it you do get a little subtle rainbow vibe going on, which I think is so gorgeous. And I have to say, I'm just so impressed that China Glaze did this one. It definitely feels like an indie style of polish, so really love to see it from a mainstream brand, but it does feel like a very fun variation on a neutral or nude kind of manicure. I especially just love the multi finishes in here. Like, we have the flaky, but we also have that shimmery base. Next up, we have one from A England. This is called Jofiel, and this one is actually a linear hollow formula, but it's a little bit different from the usual linear hollows that I use. It has a little bit bigger of a hollow pigment in there, and something that I know know about A England in general is that they have this almost pastel kind of hollow rainbow in their polishes. So it just looks a little bit different, and I think that that gives it such an elegance and beauty. And this color happens to be in this really beautiful blush pink kind of tone, which is another color that I think is so perfect for weddings. But truly, I think that any soft A England color would be such a beautiful wedding vibe just because of that pastel kind of hollow. I think it's just so stunning and soft. Next up, we've got a little bit more of an intense one. Some of these you'll see are much more sparkly than others, but I do think that it's something to think about when you are getting married, if you want to have like that really intense sparkle, or if you want it to be super subtle and neutral. So I do have lots of options in here. Don't worry, they're not all super intense, but this one is Painted Polish Ruby Romance. This one, I feel like people might disagree with me on this as to whether it's a wedding color, but like I said, I think that that blush pink kind of tone is just such a beautiful wedding shade, and it really just has this sort of elegance to it. I don't know, but this one is especially fun because it has reflective glitter and it also has a hollow glitter running throughout. So definitely a super sparkly one. If you're looking for kind of like a party on the nails, I think that this is the way to go. And then moving in kind of the opposite direction here, we have Mooncat Sand Viper, which is a much more subtle, soft kind of neutral shade. So we actually have this very slightly cool toned pinky beige base color, and then we have an iridescent shimmer running throughout that looks copper into orange into gold. And this is just a really soft, subtle manicure, but having that iridescent shimmer in there, I think makes it a little bit more exciting and bright. And I just feel like this is such a perfect any time of year neutral to wear. And I think it perfectly suits any skin tone. You can see I'm actually very warm, so sometimes I do try to avoid cooler toned neutrals, but I think this one suits me just fine. And I really do think that it looks great on every skin tone. And I believe this is the last pinky blush kind of color, but this one is ILNP Knitted. Again, this one might be a little bit of a controversial pick because I know some people don't think that these pinky tones are classic wedding kind of colors, but I don't know, there's just something very neutral about it in my opinion. But this one is a really beautiful crelly kind of formula, so somewhere between being a cream and being a jelly. I can get full coverage. It fully covers up my visible nail line, but it is sheer enough that you can see these little teeny tiny silver hollow flakies running throughout that just give it a little subtle rainbow. And I do love the warmth of that blush tone. I think it's just very pretty. And then we have What's Up Nails Desert Rose. I guess this one also is technically a pink, but I would say this one leans a little bit closer to nude. So this one is kind of this beige pink nude shade. And again, it has that kind of crelly formula. So it is full coverage, but it also feels like it has a little bit of like that sheer delicate look to it. And within this one, we have a really gorgeous, super teeny tiny little flake that looks gold when the light hits it. And I just think it's another shade that's just very subtle, very beautiful, perfect for any time of year. I actually think that this would be such a beautiful base for a French manicure, but I just think it happens to look really gorgeous on its own as well. So now we're getting back into the more white kind of polishes. Definitely very high sparkle going on with this one. This is Orly Snow Worries. So we actually have this very milky sheer base, and then within that we've got this sort of glass fleck going on. Again, it has that kind of glow that makes it look white, so it's very, very bright. And I think this is such a fun combination, having that sheer base. There's something to me about the visible nail line that I also think looks very bridal or just wedding inspired in general. Maybe that's because I love a French manicure, but I do think that that kind of adds a little bit of that wedding elegance to it. So I think this is a really fun one. You can definitely build up as much coverage as you want, but I do like when it has a little bit of that sheerness to it, and then when the light hits it, you just get that gorgeous sparkle. And then we've got OPI Breakfast at Tiffany's. This is another one I don't believe is available anymore, but if you can find it, I do highly recommend this shade. It's such a stunning off-white color. It's kind of just like this creamy white base that does reach full coverage, but it again has that sort of crelly-like feel to it, so you can can wear it as a little bit more of a sheer look. And this one just has the most beautiful, subtle golden sparkle running throughout. I feel like it's not as loud, so you can still pair this with like silver jewelry or mixed metals, but I do love it. I love the delicate vibe of this color, and I think that off-white is especially beautiful, especially if you're wearing like an off-white color. I think that this works so perfectly for that. And I had to throw in a couple of pearlized finishes because I love that brush strokiness for whatever reason, but this color OPI Shellabrate Good Times, this to me, as soon as I saw this color, this made me think of those really beautiful silk wedding dresses that are just like so simple and elegant, and I feel like this would pair so perfectly with that type of dress. So I really love that, but I also feel like this is again just the kind of neutral that you could really wear any time of year for any special occasion, and it just has this sort of timeless elegance to it. So definitely a gorgeous shade. I know not everybody loves the streakiness, but I do. I think it kind of elongates your nail beds, and I think it makes your nails look longer even if you like to keep them short like I do. And then I've actually got another pearlized finish just because I think it's nice to have the option if you're not interested in something that is so starkly white. This is somehow a more subtle option, but it's also a little bit more colorful. This is OPI Glazed and Amused. So this one is a very similar pearl finish. It does have that brush strokiness to it, but this one has sort of a pinky sheen, and it's also a little bit more sheer. So again, you can kind of see my visible nail line through it, but it is a lot softer. So it's not like you're seeing any imperfections there. It just kind of makes it look like a soft, neutral, sheer kind of vibe. But I do like the little addition of the pinkiness to it. I think that just makes it a little bit different, and I think when it catches the light, it would be really fun. And then we have the other magnetic of my picks here. This is Starly Moonflower, and this one might be a little bit of a different pick, maybe not everybody's choice for a wedding polish, but I do really love the colors going on in this one. So we've got this beautiful silvery base, but then within it we have a pinky iridescent shimmer running throughout that sometimes looks a little bit copper, and then we have this white silver magnetic pigment running throughout. So I just think it's a fun combination. Again, if you don't really want to have something so stark on your nails, like in that white color family, I think that this would be a really great pick. I think having a little bit of like a pink sheen makes something look a little bit softer and more neutral and less starkly white or silver or whatever it is. So now we're moving into the blue family. I don't have too many blue picks here, but I know that it's very fun to have something blue on your wedding day. So I do think that there are some polishes that are just perfectly appropriate for it. This is Essie on the Download, and this one I would say is the most subtle of the blue options. It almost looks white, but it does have that very slight blue tinge to it. But what's really cute about this one is it does actually have a very subtle iridescent shimmer running throughout. So it mostly kind of looks like that pinky coppery color, which again, something you can see is kind of a theme with my polishes here. For some reason, that color combo with a very light neutral color just feels very wedding-y to me. But this one also has a very slightly larger fleck running throughout that also catches the light very beautifully. Again, very subtle though. And then we have another ILNP. Actually, the other three blues that I'm showing you today are all ILNP. I think they happen to make really beautiful blue polishes that have that sort of soft elegance that feel perfect for a wedding. This one, probably my funkiest pick. Again, that very bold golden flaky running throughout, I think is a little bit more of an intense choice. So again, I think it would work really well if you're a gold jewelry person. And then we have that sort of Tiffany blue kind of base color. I think it's a Tiffany blue. I'm not 100% sure, but it has a little bit of that warmth to it. And then we have ILNP Carried Away. I think that this type of blue is a more typical wedding kind of blue, but I do really like having the options, so I think it's fun to show both. But this one is more of a sky blue kind of color. It has that crelly sort of finish to it, so it does build up to full coverage, but it also has a subtle silver hollow flaky running throughout that just adds a little bit of something extra. Again, I haven't seen Cinderella, but I feel like this is a good Cinderella kind of color, so that's the vibe that I'm thinking of when I see this color. So I think it's a really beautiful something blue for a wedding. And then we have ILNP up above, another subtle blue kind of color. This one is again that sort of sky blue shade, and this time it's in a jelly formula, and we do have the the iridescent flakes running throughout that give it a more opalescent kind of look. And this one also has a subtle little hollow sparkle running throughout. It's harder to see, but it does hit the light in certain angles and it looks really beautiful. So again, that sort of opalescent look, I know it doesn't feel like a wedding color for everyone, but I do think kind of just depending on your jewelry or your theming or anything like that, it could work really well. And I also think this would be just such a stunning wedding guest color to wear. Ooh, I actually forgot that I had thrown in another blue in here just because, again, I just love these A. England linear hollows. I think that they're so beautiful and delicate, and I wanted to just show another option. This is a blue one. It's A. England Michael, and again, it has a little bit of that warmth to it, and you can see that hollow sparkle is more on the subtle side because it's those larger hollow pigments in there. It almost gives it a little bit of a scattered look, or like kind of that crushed hollow look, but I just love the soft pastel colors of their hollow. I just think it's very elegant, it's very classy to me. So now moving on to the brighter kind of iridescent polish colors. This is KB Shimmer The Perfect Match. This is actually what I'm wearing right now in the intro and the outro of this video, and this one's just a really funky one. It kind of feels like it's a silvery color, but we have this intense iridescent shimmer running throughout. Head on, you can see it go from copper into a golden yellow, but as you move your nail around, you get to see so many more colors. So there's a lot of like green and blue in there. This could also be your something blue, I think. And then we also have these sort of diamond chip hollow flecks that are silver, and when they hit the light, they have a beautiful rainbow sheen to them. So this one's a little bit louder, but I do think it's a really fun wedding kind of polish. And this is another kind of loud, in your face kind of color. This is KB Shimmer What a Pearl Wants. But again, you'll see I love this sort of mix of a color that feels a little bit delicate but is also very loud. So this one is a sheer iridescent flaky, and you can just see so many colors going on in here. This is actually a very fun color to wear as a topper over other colors because iridescent flakies do shift depending on what they are over. But on me, I think that this one's just so fun. It's like the perfect mix of like pink into gold into orange, and then you see a little bit of green and blue, and I just love the flakiness of it. It almost feels kind of like a mosaic, so I think it's another really fun shade. But I know that sometimes you want an iridescent vibe that's a little bit more subtle, so I have a couple of options for that as well. This is OPI Snow Holding Back. So this one is a sheer that has a really beautiful soft iridescent shimmer running throughout that mostly looks like a very soft yellowy gold that kind of fades into like an almost white silver. So I feel like this is a very beautiful neutral kind of option, and as you can see, this one is a sheer. So again, you can see my visible nail line, which to me feels like a wedding kind of vibe, but you can also wear this as a topper over other colors. And then we have Orly Ephemeral, and this one I think is kind of like the happy medium between being very subtle and being very loud and in your face. So this one's a little bit closer to the OPI, but we have this sheer kind of color, and then it has this very intense yellow iridescent shimmer in here. So at some angles you can see other colors, but mostly you can see this yellowish kind of gold. And again, it is a sheer, but this one I did find to be a little bit more coverage, so it does soften up that visible nail line even more. So I do think iridescent shades are fun because they look very subtle and neutral until they hit the light, and then that's when they look very sparkly and intense. So it's fun to play around with these. So now moving on to the more champagne metallic kind of shades. This is Essie So Stellar. I think this is another one that is not available anymore, but I have always just loved this one for weddings, and I think it's a very fun mixed metals kind of look. So we have this metallic champagne kind of base color, and then we have these slightly larger silver and gold flakies running throughout. So I just think it's a fun vibe. I feel like it works really well for any time of year. Also a very good New Year's color, by the way, but I do think that this would be a very fun wedding color to wear. And then we have China Glaze Melrose Fireplace. So this is actually very similar to the other China Glaze that I showed you, but this is definitely the more muted, subtle version of it. So we have this almost champagne-y kind of base color. It leans a little bit to this like light brown shade, but it's actually a shimmer, and we have this almost white shimmer running throughout. And then we also have these slightly larger white silver flakes that hit the light, and and I just think it's really beautiful. It's really fun, but again, it has that almost like indie style. So I feel like this is the kind of color that when you wear it, people are like, what is that? That's so fun. So I really love this one. But again, it's kind of a more subtle version of the other. And then we actually have Essie It's All Bright. This one's brand new. I only just reviewed this one this week, but when I swatched this one, I was really excited because it actually reminded me a lot of So Stellar. I think it's a very similar vibe, maybe a little bit more subtle and a little bit cooler toned. We don't have as much of that mixed metal look, but we do have a little white silver sparkle running throughout. So I do think if you can't find So Stellar, this is a really great almost dupe kind of option, but it's also a good option if you want like a slightly more subtle version of that. Now, all the polishes that I've shown you so far have been a little bit on the softer side, but I really wanted to give you an option for something really loud and bright that I still think fits in the wedding color aesthetic kind of vibe. So I wanted to show off Starly Luna. This is actually a collab shade, but it is a really fun one. It's kind of this champagne gold hollow glitter, and it really is a glitter bomb. It's totally in your face, super loud, super colorful. But what's really exciting about this one is that you can just apply it like normal nail polish. You don't have to sponge it on. So I just think it's a really cool, exciting shade. If you want something very sparkly on your wedding day, this is a great option. And then we have Ice Cream Nails Pure Angel. So this is another one. I probably should have put this in with the other iridescents, but this one's kind of like an iridescent nude neutral shade. So we have a sheer base, but this one is tinted a little bit more in that pinky brownish tone. And then within that, we've got an iridescent shimmer that head on looks mostly like this champagne gold kind of color. But as you move your nail around, you can see some other colors. You can actually also see a little hint of blue, which again is kind of that something blue. And again, even though it is sheer, having all of that shimmery sparkle in there does kind of cover up the visible nail line, so it does hide any imperfections, which I think is very convenient. Now, I can't end this video without just doing a couple of very simple sheers. I do have a lot of favorites, but I wanted to highlight my top 3 favorites, just one in each kind of color family. So this first one is Zoya Bella, and this one is a neutral nude, very light beige kind of sheer. So you can see it's a very sheer color. It's kind of that jelly vibe. You can see the visible nail line, and I think that this color really suits any skin tone. Then we have Sally Hansen Pink Cloud. This is another sheer jelly-like neutral, and it does have a little bit of like a milkiness to it, but this one is in the pink color family. So when it comes to sheers like this, it's very hard to specifically see the undertone, but it does help to pick an undertone that works for you or that suits whatever you're going to be wearing over it, which I do have a couple of toppers to finish off the video. But yeah, I love this one for like a slightly pinky vibe. And the final sheer we have is Essie Sheer Luck. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this one's actually not my favorite formula. It's not the most self-leveling, and it can look a little bit patchy if you're not careful, but this one is just this really beautiful off-white, and what I really like about it is that it has a very subtle shimmer running throughout, so I actually really love to wear this as a base for very soft, elegant toppers. So I wanted to show it anyway. So now let's finish off with some toppers. Orly Spirit of Peace is one that I have been talking about ever since it came out, and I really do think that this is just the perfect topper for any occasion, but it really does feel like such a great wedding vibe. We've got a soft gold shimmer running throughout, then we have these mini white hex glitters, and then we have slightly larger golden hex glitters. So I feel like it's very delicate, it's very fun. Again, if you're a gold jewelry person, this is just the perfect vibe for that, but I also especially love this one in a jelly sandwich. I think that doing this combo, I'm actually using Zoya Bella for this one, is so beautiful. It really does look like an indie polish. So if you ever want to do a jelly sandwich for your wedding, this is a really good one. And then we have Zoya Eclipse. This is another topper, and this one's got a lot going on, and it's distinctly in the cool family. So we've got this sort of silvery shimmer base, and then we have slightly larger silver hex glitters in there that are still super teeny tiny, and then we have mini iridescent glitter, so they kind of shift colors depending on how you move your nail and what you're wearing them over, but I do think that this has like a little hint of blue, so again, kind of that subtle something blue kind of vibe. Then we have ILNP Party Popper, and this one is a mixed metals topper, so we've got a variety of different sizes of gold and silver flakies, so they're very irregular shapes. It's very soft, it's very subtle. I think this would be another one that works really well for a jelly sandwich, but I just love this one as a topper. I think it works really well over any color, but I do think it looks really pretty over Essie's sheer luck. And last but not least, we have OPI Glitterly Shimmer, which is another topper, and this one is more of a golden iridescent topper. So we've got this golden shimmer running throughout. We've got a micro gold hex glitter, and then we've got iridescent mini hex glitter. So it's kind of like the gold version of Zoya Eclipse. So you've got the gold or the silver, but I really do think that this is just such a stunning topper to wear over any neutral color. Again, would be really pretty for a jelly sandwich, but I just love the vibe of these two colors together. This is over sheer luck as well, and I just think it looks so perfect for a wedding. So yeah, that is it for my top favorite wedding nail polishes. Colors that I think are just so perfect to wear for your special day, or if you're a guest and you want to kind of feel all of the wedding vibes. I feel like these are just perfect colors to wear for that. And I don't know about you, but I love weddings. I love any excuse to wear one of these beautiful polishes, but I also just feel like these would be perfect for any special occasion because they're very elegant, classic kind of shades. So I'll put a little comparison chart up. You can see all of the colors side by side. I know there's a lot of them. There's really just so many beautiful shades to choose from, so it's kind of difficult. But I hope I've helped you maybe narrow it down a little bit, or maybe you saw a color that just felt absolutely perfect for you that now you can wear. Or if you have another favorite that I didn't mention in this video, I would love to hear about it, so let me know in the comments. Like I said, I will try my best to link all of the polishes that I mentioned down in the description, but I would love to hear your thoughts. What wedding nail polish is your favorite? Or if you are married, what polish did you wear on your wedding? Leave it in the comments. We can chat about it. If you enjoy my favorites videos, please hit that like button. It really helps me out. It lets me know I'm doing a good job, and it lets me know that you want to see more. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe. I put out new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And of course, a huge thank you to my supporters on Patreon, my royal astronomer Amanda M, as well as my cosmic admirals Ken, Rosie, and Angel. I really appreciate your support, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye. Today's fun fact question comes from Patreon supporter Kelly Marie, and Kelly Marie wants to know, you always keep your personal life understandably private, but would you ever post a picture of you in your wedding dress or your wedding day manicure? So this is a great one because I feel like every once in a while I'll get a comment of somebody being like, wait, is she wearing a wedding ring? Because I really didn't mention it too much. So I did not have a classic wedding, which is something that I honestly, even though I love weddings, I personally never wanted to have a big wedding just because it just didn't feel right for me. We're both like very quiet, private people, and I think we just wanted that to be for ourselves. So we did not have a big wedding. We didn't have like a photographer or anything like that. I wore a wedding dress, but it wasn't like anything too fancy. And I have mentioned this before, but I actually did not wear any of the polishes that I mentioned in this video. I wore a French manicure, which is something that I have always wanted to wear on my wedding day ever since I had heard of the French manicure. I just felt like it was the classic perfect wedding manicure to wear. I know not everybody feels that way, but I personally have always just wanted to do that, and I did, and I'm very glad that I did. I didn't take any pictures of my manicure, but I actually was wearing my wedding manicure in a vlog. Ooh, let me try to remember what it was. I feel like it was my organizing my makeup palettes vlog. That was, I had my wedding manicure on then. So if you want to get a little peek of it. But it was just no base coat, OPI Alpine Snow, and then I don't remember what top coat I put over it. My method, I have a video on it, but I just kind of like made a messy line and then I cleaned it up and then I just put top coat over it. But yes, that was my wedding manicure. That is it. I will see you all in my next video. Bye.